In your final appeal to world leaders, you said everything is on the table. What did you mean by that?
Well, it means that we need to follow the development of this crisis and be prepared to do more if that becomes necessary. Right now, the IMF, thanks to the shareholders' wisdom, is actually standing strong. We have $1 trillion lending capacity. Just as a reminder, prior to the global financial crisis, it was 4 times less. It was $250 billion. And that quadrupling our capacity really makes a difference today. We were able to immediately deploy emergency financing, actually double access for our members. So 102 countries knocking on the door of the IMF for lifelines can obtain rapidly financing. And I'm proud to say that despite the fact that we are all working from home, within 1 short month, half of these requests will have been approved. Already 15 countries have received funding so they can pay doctors and nurses and they can protect households and firms in this very critical moment. Of course, as we step forward... 102.
I just want to clarify. 102. That's half the world has come to the IMF for bailouts?
Yes. And I can say that what many speak about, that going to the IMF, it is with very difficult, tough conditions. Not the case. This is an emergency like no other. It is not because of bad governors or mistakes that countries are faced with such a dramatic challenge in front of them. And for that reason, what we are doing is we are providing funding very quickly on the basis of rapid assessment of conditions in every country. And we are asking for one thing only. Please pay your doctors and nurses, make sure that your health systems are functioning and that your vulnerable people and firms are protected. And please keep the receipts so we can see how money has been used and, of course, encourage accountability and transparency in this crisis.
You made a ton of headlines when you put out the prediction yesterday of negative 3% economic growth for the world. Deepest recession since the Great Depression. That one, as you know, lasted a very long time, about a decade. How long do you see this one lasting?
Well, the projections we are making depend very much on what epidemiologists are going to tell us. It is actually first time in the history of the IMF when epidemiologists are as important as macroeconomists for our projections. Provided that we see within the first half of the year retrieve of the epidemic, provided that measures to contain it are successful, and we see a rebound in the second part of the year, next year, there would be a boost, actually minus 3% this year, plus 5.8% for next year. But don't get fooled by this big number. We would be still below 2019, even if this projection materializes. They could be worse if the virus is going around the world and takes a double trip, or if vaccine and treatment are slow to come, it might get worse. It might get worse. We are really hoping that our scientists will not disappoint us and that we would have the ammunition to fight the COVID-19 soon.
Yes. Your unemployment forecast for the U.S., you see unemployment rate rising 10.4% for this year. And then next year, it looks like you expect it to only dip to 9.1%, which is still devastating unemployment in this country. Does that mean that you don't think that the U.S. government's relief package goes far enough to keep workers employed and businesses running?
Well, we are very much hoping that the U.S. will continue with a very aggressive response to the crisis as it has been doing so far. As we all know, the Fed has been very strong in providing practically unlimited liquidity. The packages so far, the 3 packages totaling 2.2 billion, are well-targeted measures. They are providing lifelines to businesses and households already. And I know that the U.S. government is determined to do more so the economy can be shielded and the recovery can be underpinned. But it would take some time because it is not like switching on and off lights in your house. Right. It would take some time for the economy to regain momentum, and this is why there could be a period of time when we are still struggling with unemployment. And let's remember, there would be a great deal of human psychology in this, which we don't really know. When would people start feeling comfortable to go to restaurants, to go to the malls, to travel internally in the U.S., outside of the U.S.? That would have implications for sectors of the economy that are very labor-intensive, especially entertainment, also restaurants. And that is the unknown of this crisis, that we have never, ever handled anything like this. The novel coronavirus is really novel. We don't yet know how we would come on the other side, but we will come on the other side of it. And I just want to give you a big shout out for the U.S. taking such decisive measures. They're very important for the American people. But because of the role of the U.S. economy in the world, they're very important for everybody else. A U.S. that lifts itself up takes up also the rest of the world. And the Fed has been particularly focused on opening up swap lines for emerging markets because shortage of liquidity in emerging markets is quite dramatic. $100 billion leaving emerging markets just in two months. So we also see on the side of Treasury attention to investing in international measures, and we count on everybody, but the big economy, of course, plays a big role.